Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. I just sent out an email to everyone that was registered. So we'll give them a couple minutes. Sorry for the delay.
Thanks for the new link, Becky. I just tried to log in. I got a meeting expired thing.
Yeah. We're waiting for a few more minutes so people see the email.
Yeah.
We will get started. It looks like folks are getting the new link and logging in. So welcome everybody to today's Legal Insight session. I want to send thanks to Anderson Reporting for providing us Zoom capabilities to still have some remote meetings. And if you were at our recent PACO celebration, PACO Paralegal Day on the 15th, it was awesome. So thanks for attending and all the folks that put in the hard work to make that happen. Let's see, we are in the midst of planning our biennial workshop and exhibition that will be September 29th. And don't forget to visit our new job bank board that's out there as well. Any other announcements? Teresa, did you have anything?
I do. We have a Wills Clinic coming up in just under 2 weeks on Wednesday, June 7th in Delaware. If you live near there or aren't afraid to drive that far away, I need a few more paralegals. We will be serving at, as of this morning, 7 residents. I have 7 attorneys, but I don't quite have 7 paralegals. So anyone who has taken the training and knows what we're doing with this, you're encouraged and welcome to join us. Please send me an email at probonocolumbus@gmail.com if you are available. Thanks.
Teresa, what's the date of that Wills Clinic?
June 7th, Wednesday, June 7th.
Okay.
Awesome. Any other announcements by PACO leaders?
Oh, yes, I do have one other. NFPA's new website is set to launch next Thursday, June 1st. So once Angie and I and Samantha have tested it and make sure it works, we will let you know so that you can then have new access. You may automatically, I don't know this, but I'm expecting that you may automatically receive an email from NFPA with new login information or some way to access the new site. I'm not sure if it's going to be seamless or if you're going to have to start over again, or I'm not sure how that's all going to work, but just be aware that that's coming and we will keep you apprised.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that.
Yep.
We are in the midst of PACO elections as well. So I just want to remind everybody, you should be getting those emails to cast your votes. If for some reason you're not seeing emails, be sure to check your spam folders as they may be going into that. All right, so we will move on to our guests today, our guest speakers. I'm going to introduce Kim Fisher and Jim Bria. Hopefully I'm saying your name right, Jim.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Kim Fisher is with us. She is a business development and sales associate at CompuWeather. She is also a meteorologist and earned a BS in atmospheric science from Cornell University in 2006.
Cool.
She spent several years working as a forecaster at Fleet Weather, providing weather forecasts for clients such as roofing companies, school districts, production companies, radio stations, and the Yankees and the Mets. That has to be pretty interesting. She then moved into a business development sales role for the forensic weather division of the same company, which is known as CompuWeather. She enjoys assisting attorneys, insurance professionals, and engineers with their weather-related cases. And Jim Bria is an avid weather enthusiast. He attended the State University of New York at Albany and obtained a Bachelor of Science in Atmospheric Science with a minor in business in 2001. He's been with CompuWeather since 2003, and in 2014 earned a prestigious certified consulting meteorologist seal from the American Meteorological Society. Jim has an extensive experience as a forensics meteorologist and expert witness, has been qualified as an expert for deposition and trial testimony in over 90 cases for both state and federal courts. So Kim and Jim, welcome. I'm going to hand it over to you both, and you can take it from here.
Okay, let me just share my screen and then we can get started. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking some time to learn a bit more about us and about the value of using a weather expert on your cases. My name is Kim Fisher, and I'm a business development and sales associate at CompuWeather. My degree is in meteorology, as Becky mentioned, which is very useful when it comes to discussing weather-related matters with attorneys and paralegals. And again, I'm here with Jim Bria, who is one of our forensic weather experts, and he'll be presenting a case study later on in the webinar. So some of you might have heard of us or maybe worked with us in the past, but some of you might be wondering, who is CompuWeather and how can they potentially help me? Well, we're a forensic weather company, and our weather experts provide expert consulting services and detailed past weather reports for legal professionals. And we have a long history in the forensic weather field, as we've been around since 1976. And we do work for both plaintiff and defense firms, whoever comes to us first. And we do always perform a conflict check just to make sure that we aren't already working for the other side. So Jim Bria, who's here with us today, and Steve Roberts are our weather experts. They're both certified consulting meteorologists, which is a seal offered by the American Meteorological Society. And they both had to undergo a rigorous written and oral exam in order to earn that seal. Jim and Steve are both knowledgeable, experienced, and they've both worked on a very wide variety of weather-related matters. They both do testify regularly, and between them, they have testified at over 180 trials and depositions in both state and federal courts all over the country. And together they have over 35 years of experience as professional meteorologists. So they have a strong understanding of how the legal process works, which means that they're easy to work with. You've already met me, but Patty Robertson, who is our senior account manager, is your other main point of contact if you get in touch with us in order to discuss the circumstances of your case. And our job is to help you identify your needs surrounding your weather-related case and to get you the answers and support that you require. Legal professionals may come to us and not fully understand what they need. So we help you figure out the best way for us to assist you with your case. You can submit case details to us via email. We have an online web form, or you can call us. And we'll then speak with you to discuss your case and the various weather factors involved and figure out how we can best assist. And at that point, we'll set you up to work with a weather expert, whether that's via them consulting with you, writing a report, reviewing case documents, etc. As you all know, weather is often an important part of a legal case, and many different types of cases can potentially involve weather as a significant factor. So we work on all types of weather-related cases, some of which are listed here: slip and falls, property damage due to wind and flooding, transportation accidents, maritime and aviation cases, construction delays and defects, hurricanes and tornadoes, I think I forgot to put hail on there, but we work on all of those cases, plus some other ones that are not so common. And we can determine what weather was occurring at the time of the incident at the specific loss location, and also over the days or weeks, sometimes even months prior if needed. And in a bit, I'll go into more detail about the different types of cases that we work on. You might wonder, why should I use a weather expert when I can search for weather data online that's free and use that? There are several benefits to using us. One is that we provide site-specific information. So you'll find out the weather at the exact location rather than at a site that's several or many miles away. We also use reliable, accurate data sources, and our experts know which data sources are most representative of the loss location. And we also offer phone consultations with our experts, which gives you the ability to speak with the expert and ask questions related to your case and have the expert help you develop a solid case strategy. When you work with one of our experts, he's available for testimony down the line, so you're prepared if your case goes to trial. And he's also available for deposition. So we work on all types of personal injury cases, such as slip and falls, motor vehicle accidents, and injuries due to wind. For slip and fall cases, we can provide the specific timing of precipitation at the lost site and let you know if there was a storm in progress, if snow and ice cover might have been present on untreated, undisturbed surfaces, or if surfaces may or may not have been wet, if the fall was due to rain being trapped into a business location, for example. If it was snowing at the time of the fall, that can be an important defense. On the other side, we can also let you know if there was pre-existing snow and ice cover prior to an ongoing storm, which could potentially help bolster a plaintiff's case. For wind cases, we can analyze forecasts and advisories to determine if there was notice of the wind and also provide precise wind speeds. For example, if a tree falls and injures someone, we can provide wind speeds so that you can determine if the tree might have been unhealthy or rotten, or if the winds were potentially strong enough to take down a healthy tree. We also cover motor vehicle and truck accidents, so we can determine if it was raining or snowing at the time of the incident, if the weather may have created black ice or water ponding on roadways, if a sudden thunderstorm or snow squall occurred, if sun glare might have been a factor, if fog was present and what the visibility was, and whether any of those conditions could have been foreseeable. We also work on quite a few property damage cases. With wind damage cases, we can figure out what the peak wind speeds were at a specific location. And that's for both peak sustained wind speeds and peak wind gusts. And we can sort out localized wind phenomena to prove that the damage is actually wind related, and also figure out whether the winds were from a tornado or from more traditional straight line winds or a microburst. When it comes to flooding, we can determine how much rain fell and how unusual a rainfall event was, which can be helpful for determining whether changes to infrastructure may or may not have been responsible for changing drainage patterns and causing flooding issues. We can let you know hourly rainfall amounts, as well as whether a storm was considered to be a 1 in 10 year storm, 1 in 100 year storm, etc. For hail cases, we can figure out if hail really did fall at a specific location during a given time period, and was it large enough to cause damage. Now, that often requires an engineer to assess the damage as well, but we provide the hail likelihood and size, which would be the basis for any engineer's determination. And our hail reports can cover one day if you know the date of loss, or they can cover several weeks, months, or years if you're searching to see when hail may have affected the property. For lightning issues, we can figure out if lightning really did strike a location. We provide site-specific strike data to answer this question. And the report would show any lightning strikes that occurred within a 5-mile radius, and there is a margin of error. We also work on snow load cases relating to roof collapses. We can determine how much snow had fallen so far during the winter season, what the maximum snow depth was during the season, as well as what the liquid equivalent of the snow load was at the time of the roof collapse. So we do have a dedicated maritime weather expert, Fred Pickart, who works on our maritime cases specifically. These types of cases can include personal injury on a boat due to high winds or rough seas, ship collisions, vessel sinkings, salvage claims, and hurricane issues. And he can provide information regarding winds, precipitation, sea and wave heights, swells, and currents, and as well as forecasts. And we can work on maritime issues all over the world, whether it's, in the middle of the Atlantic or Pacific Oceans or right along the United States coast. We can also work on incidents that occur on inland rivers and on the Great Lakes. Then we also have a dedicated aviation weather expert, Dan Pagliaro, and we work on weather-related aviation matters, including personal injury to passengers, turbulence, property damage, and aircraft crashes. We have access to not only weather data near the surface, near the ground, but also upper air data, which is useful for determining the weather that would be experienced by a plane during flight, as the conditions aloft are often quite different than what they would be at ground level. So we do work on hurricane cases as well, although that's probably not something that generally comes up for you in Ohio, but occasionally the remnants of hurricanes or tropical storms can affect the area. For example, back in 2008, the remnants of Hurricane Ike produced wind gusts of 75 miles per hour in Columbus and even higher gusts in the surrounding areas, which knocked out power to millions of homes. And in fact, Jim did work on a case in Ohio where unfortunately the remnants of Ike caused a tree to fall on a child and he ended up with a traumatic brain injury. So we have worked on some hurricane related cases in your area. So I'll just provide an overview of our hurricane related products. We offer two main types of products to provide information regarding hurricanes and tropical storms. Over the years, we've worked on over 50 different storms, have provided over 200 hurricane map packages, and have prepared over 1,600 hurricane timelines and reports. We produce map packages and timelines for every hurricane and tropical storm that makes landfall in the United States. Our hurricane timeline reports provide an hour-by-hour breakdown of the weather variables over the course of the storm at a specific loss location. The available variables that we can calculate include wind, which would be both peak sustained wind and peak wind gusts, along with wind direction, rainfall amounts, and storm tide levels, which is the storm surge level plus the tide level. The report covers the entire time the storm affected the property in question, which can be as short as 12 hours, or sometimes these storms linger around for 2 or 3 days. Our timelines are useful for sorting out timing regarding wind versus water issues. Our hurricane map packages are generally ordered by engineers, although attorneys can order them as well. And they provide an overview of the impacts from a storm over a larger area, with contours to display the magnitudes of the various weather variables. And these maps contain the same weather variables as would be available in a timeline, which would be, again, wind speeds, rainfall amounts, and storm tide levels. These maps help engineers more easily see the wide-ranging impacts of a tropical system, since it covers the entire area affected by a storm. That covers the most common types of cases that we work on, but once in a while we cover a more unique or unusual case. And I'll go over a few examples because you might think, oh, I never thought weather could be involved in something like that. And I even think that as well sometimes when I hear about these cases. So for one of them, we were contacted by an attorney working on a case involving paint that was peeling off of a commercial fishing boat. Our attorney was representing the plaintiff and the boat, which was the boat building company. The boat builders were suing the paint company, saying that the paint must have been a bad batch since it peeled off very quickly. The paint company countered and said the paint must not have been applied under the correct environmental and weather conditions. They said that it needs to be applied at a relative humidity that's below 85% and at temperatures above 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So our weather expert researched the temperatures, dew points, and relative humidity for the time frame during which the boat was painted, which was, I believe, about a week or so. And he found that the boat was painted under the correct weather conditions. So in that case, that ended up being favorable to our client. Back in the summer of 2021, some parts of the country were seeing record high temperatures that lasted for several days and that were atypical for the area. So this led to several deaths, including the death of a nursing home resident. We were hired by an attorney representing the elderly woman's family to provide a weather report containing temperatures during the heat wave. With the absence of air conditioners in rooms and in common areas, the nursing home facility reached well into the triple-digit temperatures indoors. So residents were unable to escape the heat, which caused the woman, unfortunately, to die due to heat stroke. Our report was an essential contribution to the plaintiff's case strategy to prove the nursing home facility did not take the necessary precautions to avoid death due to extreme heat. And we've also occasionally worked on criminal cases, which can include trying to figure out if someone's testimony is credible. Our client was trying to discredit witness testimony that there were icicles hanging from a building. So our weather expert looked at the recent temperatures and precipitation at the location in question to see if conditions may have been conducive for icicles to form. And our expert determined that there were likely no icicles present at the time in question due to above freezing temperatures for over 24 hours, as well as a lack of snow and ice cover. So therefore, it was possible that the witness wasn't being entirely truthful. So we offer many different types of products and services. Our formal written reports contain weather information in an easily readable format, and it is site-specific. And these reports are prepared and signed by the weather expert. We also offer phone consultations with an expert where you can speak with the expert prior to getting a written report so that you can hear their verbal opinion before anything is put down in writing. Then we also offer certified data from the nearest observing sites, which is often used to attach to a motion or for use at trial. And this data is provided by the federal government, but we order it for you to make sure you don't leave out any critical data or order the incorrect data. Then we also provide consulting services such as affidavit review and document review. Once we provide analysis either via a report or a consultation, then our client can draft an affidavit for the expert to review, sign, and have notarized in order to support a motion. Occasionally, you may also need us to review the opposing expert's weather report, deposition transcripts, or other relevant case materials. And it's important to remember all of our services are backed by weather experts that will testify at trial or deposition if necessary. And there's many positives to using our consulting services. That phone consultation with an expert helps you gain a full understanding of the weather surrounding your case, allows you to discuss the weather findings before anything is put down in writing, and you can ask questions of the expert during the consultation. And our experts can help you develop the best case strategy surrounding the weather. Having your expert review the opposing weather expert's report or an engineer's report, as sometimes those include weather information, is important to check it for accuracy, expose any obvious biases, and check to make sure that they aren't excluding important weather information that could actually help your case. And the expert can also review other case documents, such as expert disclosures, photographs of the accident site or videos of the accident, affidavits, deposition transcripts, and motions to determine if testimony is consistent with the weather, sort out credibility issues, and render weather opinions about specific circumstances surrounding a case. And here is a weather report, a slip and fall report, just to show you a sample that Jim recently prepared for a client. So you can just get an idea of what our reports look like. And the law firm, case name, and location have all been changed. So this is the cover page. And then we do have a table of contents listing the contents of the report. And then there's all the case information listed on this page, along with a brief abstract of what we were asked to do, the dates that we were asked to analyze. Then there is an introduction. And here's kind of the meat of the report, the results and analysis. Here, Jim provided a detailed analysis of the weather for each date, which includes high and low temperatures, the amount of snow and ice cover on the ground at the start and end of each date, as well as if any precipitation fell, the type and amount that fell, and the times during which it fell. And this report covers 3 days, but our reports can cover as many days as you need. His findings are then summarized in a table on the next page with the temperatures, any snow and ice accumulation, and snow and ice cover listed. And then it's also summarized in a chart. It's kind of easy to read on the next page. So it makes it easy to see what happened at a glance. For this case, Jim reviewed documents provided by the client to incorporate them into the report. And he reviewed the plaintiff's deposition transcript and included parts of her testimony that were relevant to the weather conditions. It's always an option for us to review these types of documents, and then we can incorporate them into the weather report. The conclusion states what weather conditions were occurring at the time of the incident, including if any precipitation was falling, how much snow and ice cover may have been present, and what the temperature was. We can provide site-specific weather reports without reviewing case documents, but it's always recommended to have the expert review documents so that the report can be tailored to the details surrounding your specific case. And as you can see in point 3, we're able to make the direct connection between the weather conditions and the testimony, which in this case was helpful. The plaintiff described the asphalt where she slipped and fell as being a black ice condition, and a black ice or glaze ice condition present at the time of incident is consistent with meltwater from existing snow and ice that would have refroze into ice while the temperature is between 32 and 34 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, this map plots some of the data sources that are used, and then there's a full list on the following page of all of the data sources that we use, which includes archived radar images, Doppler radar images, statements issued by the local National Weather Service, and various weather reporting sites. And this page lists other resources that we may use in our reports, and also a list of any case documents and photographs that were reviewed prior to preparing the report. So that's what a slip and fall report looks like. And a report can also be customized to your needs. Sometimes our reports involve more information than this one. For example, we can include hourly temperatures, hourly precipitation amounts, the date and amount of the last measurable snowfall, and more. So there are several important qualities to look for when you are selecting a weather expert. One of them is education, as your weather expert should have a degree in meteorology or atmospheric science, which is essentially just two different names for the same field of study. Another is certifications. Our weather experts are certified consulting meteorologists, as I mentioned earlier, which is a seal that demonstrates a certain level of knowledge and experience in the field. The seal has to be renewed every 5 years and requires a certain number of professional development credits in order to do so. With regards to experience, ideally a weather expert will have been in the field for a while and will have previous experience testifying at trial and at depositions. Meteorologists are also affiliated with several professional organizations, including the American Meteorological Society, National Weather Association, and Association of Certified Meteorologists. Our clients sometimes make mistakes when it comes to working on weather-related cases. Sometimes we've engaged late in cases with attorneys who decided to investigate the weather on their own, and sometimes they end up making decisions that can potentially lead them down the wrong path. This can end up costing them significantly more time and money to have to change their strategy late in the game. And at that point, it can be too late to disclose an expert or to get one to testify, which could potentially be a problem. Sometimes also a client will not disclose all of the weather-related facts surrounding the case, which means that the weather expert can't really get a full picture of what actually happened. So it's essential to be upfront with the expert so that he can perform a precise analysis. We use reliable, accurate data sources. And if you use free data online, as we mentioned earlier, from an unofficial weather data site, you risk using stations that are inaccurate and might not be admissible in court. You also may not know how to interpret the data yourself. Data sources that we use are all government approved and are generally accepted by the courts nationwide. Additionally, if you only order certified weather data for your case, you're missing out on getting the details on the weather that happened at the specific site of incident. Certified weather data can be needed at times, such as when making a motion, but if you need to know what the weather was at the specific location, a phone consultation or written report is the only way you'll be able to find that out. Certified data will only provide you with the weather information from the nearest observing sites to the lost location. And if you do need certified data, it's best to let us order it for you. Recently, a client came to me and was going to order it himself, but was overwhelmed by the number of weather stations near his lost location. So he asked us to order it for him, as we would know which stations were most representative of the location of loss, and also we know which ones report the weather variables he was interested in. Not every weather station reports every weather variable. You may also receive the opposing weather experts report or opinion via expert disclosure and think, well, the weather is the weather. If I hired an expert myself, he wouldn't say anything different. And chances are the opposing expert will leave out facts that could help your case and only include ones that benefit their side. And Jim is going to touch on that in his case study in a moment. And that's why it's important to hire your own weather expert. And now I'll hand it over to Jim Bria, weather expert and certified consulting meteorologist, and he's going to present a case study regarding a flooding case that he worked on. So thanks,
Great.
Jim.
Thank you, Kim. So today I'm going to discuss a case study where weather contributed to damage to a property. In order to protect the confidentiality of the parties involved, specific details on the following case study have been omitted and amended. So we'll start with some background of the case. Excavation occurred on a property located at a higher elevation than the adjacent property. Months later, a thunderstorm caused the adjacent property to flood, resulting in significant damage to the adjacent owner's property. The owner who sustained damage sued the uphill property owner, claiming that the excavation led to flood damage and that this has never happened before. So CompuWeather was retained by the defense counsel to investigate the rainfall amounts. So what we were asked to do, the defense wanted to know if this rainfall event was highly unusual or an act of God that could have not been anticipated. So we were asked to investigate the amount of rain that fell during the period in question, then determine how often an event of that magnitude is expected to occur at the specific location. This is done using average recurrence intervals, which are from a long-term study prepared by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration that's based on generally accepted climatological research. Average recurrence intervals study it take into account not only the rainfall amount that has fallen, but also the duration of that rainfall. So there is a significant difference between a 2-inch rain that occurs over 1 hour compared to a 2-inch rainfall that occurs over 15 minutes. So even though the same amount of rain has fallen, the time over which the rain falls is important to know. So the process to perform and produce a site-specific weather analysis begins with verifying the incident location and performing a search of all available weather data that's relevant to the specific incident site. All of this meteorological data that we use in CompuWeather reports is maintained, quality controlled, and certified by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is NOAA for short. The data used in our analysis includes hourly weather observations. So these are usually from local airports and report information like temperature, wind speeds, precipitation types, amounts of precipitation. And this is done at least once per hour and oftentimes more than that during active weather situations. Daily weather stations, these will report high temperature, low temperature, rainfall, snowfall, snow and ice cover at least one time per day. National Weather Service forecast alerts, advisories, and special weather statements. These advise the public of imminent or ongoing adverse weather. Local storm reports and public information statements. These are issued after a significant weather event has affected an area. Surface weather maps, which show the location of storm systems and fronts. National Weather Service storm event summaries. These summarize significant weather events. Satellite imagery, which shows the movement of clouds. Doppler radar, which shows the movement of rainfall and precipitation, and the average recurrence interval tables, which are the tables that show the statistical significance of an event. So after analyzing all of that data and interpreting, we'll generate opinions on the weather conditions that occurred at the incident site. So just kind of a side note, it's important to note that the person to perform this analysis must be trained to analyze Doppler radar, because there can be errors with the data that are obvious to a qualified and certified meteorologist. Doppler radar is a great tool for determining rainfall amounts at precise locations. However, precipitation amounts are estimated based on rainfall rates. Therefore, using actual surface observations it's an important part of it to determine the accuracy and usefulness of the Doppler. So this next slide just provides a quick summary of the weather analysis and findings in this case. So we use Doppler radar to determine rainfall timing, intensity, and amounts for the event from the start to end at the incident location. Then looked at all National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration approved rain gauge measurements surrounding the location to determine that Doppler radar rainfall estimates were reliable and accurate. After performing this review, determined that the rainfall occurred over a 3-hour period, during which 6.32 inches of rain fell. So the average recurrence interval for a 3-hour rainfall of 6.32 inches at the incident location was 200 to 500 years. So in addition to CompuWeather producing a report, the plaintiff's attorney also hired a meteorologist to provide an opinion that the storm in question was not nearly as severe or statistically significant. So CompuWeather was also asked to review and rebut the opposing expert's report. So there were a couple of challenges and oversights that became apparent after reviewing this report. The first one being that the opposing expert determined that just 6 inches of rainfall occurred, while, like I just noted, CompuWeather had estimation of 6.32 inches. So this leads to the question, why are there different rainfall amounts from opposing experts, even though we're all using the same data? Well, in this instance, the opposing expert used low resolution Doppler radar, which is the image on the left side of the slide. This Doppler radar shows the estimated rainfall amounts being on the edge of the yellow shading, which is 6 inches. In the image on the right, this is the Doppler radar data that we used in our report, which is a high resolution Doppler radar, which shows an estimated rainfall spot value of 6.32 inches for the incident location. On a side note, the low resolution Doppler radar product that the opposing expert used has since been phased out by NOAA and is no longer being offered, since there now are high quality and more detailed Doppler images available. The second challenge and oversight in this case was that the opposing expert presented the rainfall as a 24-hour event with an average recurrence interval of just 10 to 25 years, which is significantly lower than our assessment of 200 to 500 years. Since we use the Doppler radar, we are able to determine that the rainfall fell over a 3-hour period, not over a 24-hour period. So this oversight from the opposing expert does not fully capture the severity of the event. So this next slide is information from the average recurrence interval chart for the location of the incident. In this image, you're only showing the relevant portions for ease of viewing. So the top of each column is in years, while the row on the left is the duration of an event, followed by the corresponding amounts to each rainfall. The red text that's shown represents the opposing expert's opinion that 6 inches of rain in 24 hours is between the 10-year value of 5.14 inches and the 25-year value of 6.41 inches. Since this event occurred in only 3 hours, the blue text, which is from the CompuWeather report, is more representative analysis of weather conditions that occurred in this case. In this instance, the 3-hour rainfall of 6.32 inches is between the 200-year value of 5.51 inches and the 500-year value of 6.62 inches. The third challenge and oversight that was highlighted in the opposing experts report was that hail contaminated rainfall amounts. So before we go into more detail about that, it's important to give a little bit of background about how Doppler radar works. Doppler radar works by sending out a signal from the Doppler radar site. As the signal hits precipitation in the atmosphere, the percentage of that signal that's reflected back to the Doppler radar site is converted to an intensity of precipitation on a Doppler radar image, similar to what you would see on a phone app or on TV or online. The heavier the precipitation, the higher percentage reflected back to the Doppler site, which would be showing up as the reds, oranges, yellows on a Doppler radar image. In addition, hail, which are pieces of ice, are a very effective reflector of Doppler radar energy. So in cases where where hail is present, Doppler radar can interpret this as extremely heavy rainfall rates, which can lead to an overestimation of rainfall amounts. But in this case, that didn't find that to be an issue. So the opposing expert determined that hail contaminated the radar data, resulting in rainfall amounts that were too high and unreliable. So in order to determine that that wasn't the case, we reviewed actual rainfall reports from nearby weather stations that also showed hail on that day. This data was overlaid with the Doppler radar estimated rainfall amounts and showed that there was no indication of an overestimation of rainfall due to the hail. Lastly, this slide shows the outcome and takeaways in this case. Both experts' opinions were disclosed in this case, and it resulted in a favorable settlement for the defense. So here are the 3 takeaways from the case. Only a qualified weather expert can provide an accurate site-specific analysis of weather conditions. Qualified weather experts have knowledge, experience, and education to properly interpret all pertinent weather data and information for a site-specific location. And it's always important to get your own weather expert for a case and not to rely on the opposing expert's work or opinions. I think you're on mute, Kim.
Yeah. Yes, I was on mute. Sorry about that. Thanks so much, Jim. As you can see, that was a really good example of why it's important not only to have your own weather expert, but to have your weather expert review the opposing weather expert's report, because that expert might not be using all of the data that would be relevant to your case, and providing some opinions that might be a little bit different. All right, so I'm just going to give you a few moments to read what some of our clients have said about us in the past on the next slide. All right, so as you can see, we work on a lot of weather-related litigation. So if we can ever help you out with anything, please contact us. Our main number is 800-825-4445. Our website is compuweather.com, and there's a lot of information on our website regarding sample reports, and you can also submit a request through our web form on the site. And you can also email me at kfisher@compuweather.com or my colleague Patty, probertson@compuweather.com. And we really hope to have the opportunity to work with you in the future. So we can open it up to questions if anyone has some.
Any questions from anyone on the call? There's nothing in chat and it seems pretty quiet. That was fascinating, Jim and Kim, how much information is provided through a weather expert. Very interesting.
Yes, it's definitely a lot. And again, sometimes we'll get it. I mean, obviously, slip and fall, it's important to know, what snow and ice conditions were like. But then, once in a while we'll get a case and it's, kind of surprising, that weather might be involved. And those are kind of fun to come across because sometimes they're a little more unique. But, slip and falls are, probably the cases that we work on most often. And again, a lot of, wind cases, car accidents and things like that as well. And then again, we have our specialized, maritime and aviation experts, and we work on those cases too. But yeah, a lot of different cases out there have weather issues, it turns out.
Have you guys been busy this year? Because I work for Nationwide and we've been told that this is the worst weather we've had in years for the first quarter of 2023. So I imagine you guys have been pretty busy.
Yes, we have been very busy. And it's funny because we're located in New York and we had a pretty mild winter here. So we haven't really been getting, as many slip and fall cases, but we've been getting a lot of work from other areas of the country. And again, with, a variety of things, slip and falls, property damage. We're still getting a lot of work from Hurricane Irma, which was at this point almost 6 years ago. There are still cases going to trial for that, which is, mostly in Florida. We were doing a lot of work on Hurricane Ian, which just occurred last year in Florida. And then just a lot of things going on in other parts of the country as well. So we have been quite busy this year. Jim, if you have anything else to comment on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing cases that are coming in for all over the country. Some of the types of cases that have come in more often recently have been motor vehicle accidents. I've worked on a couple of truck accidents recently, and I have another one that I'm just about to start in Texas during the deep freeze from a couple of years ago. And one of the services that we're able to provide is kind of a three-dimensional view. So looking at weather conditions over time over different areas. So I can give you a weather conditions as a truck is traveling through it, long distances based on being at specific points at specific times, which is one of the, I wouldn't say it's a newer product, but it's something that we're doing more often now than ever. The good thing about CompuWeather is like Kim said, we've been doing this for a long time. I've been with the company for over 20 years. Steve's been with the company for over 20 years, and we've been actively involved in forensic cases for a long time now and seen a lot. So we can really provide you with insight on things we've seen in other cases that may stick out in terms of the data, in terms of some unique situations that are going on. We're going to be completely honest with you about if you have weather conditions that are favorable or not favorable, because in the end, it's my reputation is the most important thing. So I will never be saying anything that I can't bring all the way to trial to defend on the stand or in a deposition or trial testimony. Really, that's the most important thing to me, is just being honest with the client. And I'll let you know right up front that I don't think things are going to be, the weather conditions don't look so favorable in this instance. And because I've been doing this for so long, many times I can tell you almost to a point or to an extent, I can tell you what the other side's expert potentially is going to say. I can kind of see where some of the weak spots are in the case with the weather conditions. So it's just been with all this experience that I've had, I'm able to really provide you with a good view of the weather conditions and what the case looks like.
Do you guys get involved in any of the wildfires that have been happening over the past few years?
So we have not, I did have an inquiry a while ago for with an attorney in California who is working on those, but then they never ended up getting back in touch and using us. I think they were looking for someone who could kind of almost like be exclusively on call just for them, when these are happening, and like providing them with weather information, almost instantaneously. We have worked on fire cases before, but yeah, we haven't gotten involved, I think, in any of the more recent ones. I do remember there was one out, I think, in like Eastern Washington state that we worked on. Sometimes we've worked on ones where not too long ago, where a person got injured due to a controlled burn, and they were trying to figure out if the wind conditions kind of caused the fire to change direction and move towards the injured person. So yeah, we have worked on fire cases, but we haven't specifically done a ton with any recent wildfires.
Yeah, and even a kind of a funny thing to note that's related to wildfires. I don't know if people have noticed over the past week or so that the skies have been pretty hazy in the area. Those are a result of wildfires that were ongoing up in Canada. So it's the haze or the smoke is so high up in the atmosphere that you're not going to be able to smell it, but it is there. And we actually have it's been built now into forecast models for actual weather forecasting to see the movement of that area of smoke. So with the cold front that came through yesterday for our area, that it pushed all of that out of the air, and now we're back to having a nice clear sky. But it's these fires that are going on in the west coast of Canada, that this air is all pushed into our location and given us hazy skies, even though it's there's really no clouds in the sky. It's just this overcast haze from the fires of a distance away.
Yeah, I have one question regarding the source of your data. Is most of it from the National Weather Service?
Well, yes. No, all of it is going to be from sources from U.S. government. So it's we gather all the information from the National Center of Environmental Information. So it's all quality controlled, it's all certified, it's all maintained by the U.S. government.
Any other questions? Well, we're almost at time. So Kim and Jim, it's been a pleasure. This is extremely interesting. So if you want to send me the deck, if you can send me your deck, I'd be happy to circulate it to everyone that was on the call today, so they have your contact information. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
All right. Have a nice long weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.